We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Merle Holman, founder and CEO of Group Dynamics and Focus. Merle, what is Group Dynamics and Focus? What are you guys doing?
We do marketing research in a focus group setting.
All righty. And how'd you get a job with this company?
I started this company 38 years ago. Yes, sir.
All right. And tell me, when you started this company, were you married or single?
Single.
Wait a minute. So you started a business 38 years ago, and you were single. Did you have any kids?
I have 2 daughters.
So you had 2 daughters then, and didn't you realize that most businesses fail and that you should just go get a job or something? But here you are with 2 daughters and single, and you started a business?
I had many years of jobs, and this was out of necessity because I had been let go from a national market research company.
Yeah, but still, you should have gone ahead and get another job.
There was nothing available. This was 1981, and there was nothing available.
All righty. So I understand that you were originally from Philadelphia, then you moved to a suburb of Philadelphia when you were about 12. What happened about that age, and how'd you feel about it?
Well, this was, it felt awful because I came from a very close-knit neighborhood, about 70 kids in the neighborhood, and was moved out of my element into a strange junior high school. And I even had to go back a half a year because it was different in Philadelphia than it was in the suburbs.
So you came from a close-knit neighborhood into a community that wasn't as close-knit, where there were some issues going on. And you found that really pretty disruptive. And so did you become a victim, or how did you respond to those circumstances?
Initially, it was very isolating because most of the kids who went to the junior high school, which is where I entered, most of them had known each other forever. And I came in, and it was very, very hard.
So what did you end up doing about that?
Pardon me?
What was the end result? What did you
end up? The end result was that I tried to make friends. There were other people coming in, and eventually, by 8th grade, I was able to be on the newspaper doing things that I felt I was comfortable with.
So you did get involved with the different aspects of the school
immediately.
And the community.
Yes.
And so you stepped up to the plate there, didn't you?
Yes.
Meredith?
So, Merle, earlier in the green room, you talked about being on your own. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I was married at 20, divorced at 27, and looking for some way to help me and my daughters to be able to finance us.
Sounds to me like the same thing that happened when you were 12, moving from Philadelphia to the suburb of Philadelphia, and you were an outsider, and you had to step up to the plate and take the responsibility, is what you did with getting divorced and starting this business, stepping up right to the plate there. Shannon?
Merle, tell us a little bit about your mom. What was she like?
My mother was a homemaker, and she was perfect, and she expected that from her 2 daughters in a very gentle, kind way, and she was very knowledgeable. She would read, up until the day she passed away at 92, she would read all kinds of articles and mail them to us, and how to eat and how to exercise and how to keep your figure.
What did that do to you?
Crushed me many times. It was very, very difficult. Many times it was very difficult.
What do you mean?
Well, I had a sister who was very skinny, who didn't like to eat, and I always had a weight problem. She was not interested in doing anything, and I wanted to get out there and be part of, whether it was tennis or ice skating or theater. These were my interests, and I had no guidance. I really had no guidance.
But you picked up a lot of drive from it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So your mom helped you with your drive, huh? And making sure that things are done correctly, which is probably one of the reasons you do a good job with these focus groups, don't you?
Not so much the focus, it's the people who hire us. And my mother taught me how to be polite and how to greet people, and she was,
Shannon?
And what about your dad? What was he like?
Oh, he was terrific. He was a writer. He was a person who was on every committee, ran committees, was known around Philadelphia, and included me because I didn't have a brother until I was 12. And then by that time, I was a grown-up.
It sounds to me like, you're a lot like your dad,
Yes.
You got involved with everything, and you got involved with everything.
Yep.
Marita, what are you picking up?
So you're a survivor, and sounds like your grandmother's a survivor. What's the best advice you give your daughters?
to be survivors, I guess. Yes, one of them is in business with me, and the other one moved out of the area. She's in North Jersey.
Tell us a little bit about your grandmother. What are you talking about, survivors and stuff like that?
My grandmother came over from Russia in the 1920s and was, to my knowledge, my grandfather had passed away, and she had to survive with
Did he pass
two
away?
sons. Yeah, well, that's what I was told.
But what do you think really happened?
Well, he left her and went to New York and remarried, but I didn't know that till.
So your grandmother in the 1930s came to the United States from where?
From Russia.
And then her husband
Speaking
left.
no English.
Speaking no English, and her husband left. So what happened? What did she do?
In order to survive, she had a 3-story home that she rented out on the top floor, and she went door to door and sold encyclopedias, and she took in wash and laundry. And when I came along, it turned out that of all the grandchildren, I was the favorite. So I had
Well, maybe she just related to you. She saw something in you that she saw in herself. What was that? What is that?
I wish she was here so I could ask her, but I really don't know why I was. I know she didn't like my sister, but she really...
Well, it has something to do with the survivor stuff and step up to the plate, like what happened when you moved from Philadelphia to Marion, and the same thing would happen when you got divorced in terms of starting the business.
She had passed away by the time I was 18, so she wasn't part of that part of my life. This was...
Yeah, but this something tells me that she stepped up as well, didn't she?
Oh, absolutely.
So she saw
strong lady.
She saw that characteristic in you. A strong lady. What do you mean by that you and she share in common?
That she survived what she survived as a young woman, and I was able to survive.
What is that? What is it? Why do you have such great respect for that strong woman stuff? What are you talking about there?
It's probably one of the early. They didn't have marches in those days, but I would have been out there. I just felt that we had to be appreciated for us. I had to be appreciated for what I.
What happened when you went for a loan
contribute.
one day? What happened with that loan? What did the loan officer tell you?
Oh, well, that was... The loan officer said to me from the SBA when I needed money to start my own business because the business had closed where I had been previously, that there was money that was there for if you were black. There was money there if you were a male, but there was no money left over for a female who needed a loan.
So talking about those strong women, you felt that strong women should be appreciated. It sounded to me like that loan officer didn't appreciate how you felt and who you were. How did you feel about that?
Well, I walked out and I knew I needed to start this business, and the gentleman in my life, he contributed, my father contributed, and a woman who's still my partner also contributed towards that.
Sounds to me like you stepped up just like your grandmother did. Peter?
So you were a single mom before it was common. You were a female business owner before it was acceptable. Would you consider yourself a fearless person? You seem fearless.
I consider myself, and I've had some interviews, I am a lucky person. I seem to have been in the right place at the right time with the right people around me, and I feel that way from...
Wait. You're telling me you've been through some pretty difficult times, but you still feel lucky? What are you talking about?
I took a path, and I've been just lucky. I whatever luck is to anybody else, that's how I feel about... I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in luck.
How do you teach that brand of luck? Can you share that with all of our guests, our audience?
It's walking down a path and veering to the left or right when you see a light at the end of that tunnel. And I consider part of the luck, the people who currently work for our company have been there 29, 32, and 34 years. This is another family for me. I have a wonderful family in my children and grandchildren, but I also have a family, or we have been a family, and through a lot with...
No, wait a minute. I thought at work, if people don't do the job, you just fire them. What are you talking about? It feels like a family.
We've had to go through a lot of you're fired, but we've been able to maintain the people who really are the basis for my company. And my daughter now runs it. I am fortunate enough that she didn't become a social worker, and she decided to stay with the business. So
you're all about relationships. You're all about...
Totally.
What's the most important thing in life?
To be my age and to have really friends from when I was 16, 12, 22, 45. These are the people in my life. My children have their own lives.
So
These
it's
are the
relationships.
people in my life.
It's
Yes,
the relationships.
Absolutely.
Huh. Really? It's more important than the money?
Absolutely. As long as I can survive, it's more important than the money.
Huh.
Absolutely. You have a $100 bill and you have somebody working for you whose husband just passed away at 32. You bet she gets a little bit more than maybe everybody
What's
else.
the website address of your organization?
Pardon me?
What website address?
GroupDynamics.com.
We've been speaking with Merle Holman, founder and CEO of Group Dynamics and Focus, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Back in a moment right after this break.